For quite some years now, it seemed as if the Germans had the compact size executive saloon market all wrapped up, with the exception of the Jaguar XE of course, after offering models such as the 156 and the 159 in previous years. Alfa Romeo is back with this, the brand new Giulia. Has this pretty face got what it takes to compete, or is it style over substance? Keep watching to find out.
They say a picture paints 1,000 words, so on that basis, I think the Giulia has to be one of the best things ever written. Just look at it, it's right at the back of your hand, beautiful, and in my opinion, it looks so much more special than its rivals. Now, this is for Speciale model, meaning that you get 18-inch alloys and a sporty body kit, although these particular alloys are an optional extra, but it still doesn't change the fact that it's simply beautiful. I could spend all day just looking at it. In fact, I think I will. The inside is a lovely place to be. Just look at these seats. They are gorgeous. So with the Speciale, you get these really nice sport seats and they support you really well. They're also sat low into the cabin, so you feel like you're sat in the car rather than on it. Now, what I will say is that the bolsters, they are very thick. So someone of a broader stature might find them a bit uncomfortable on longer journeys, but they are very nice indeed, and I really like the red leather. I'm not normally a fan of red leather, but in the Giulia it works really well. You can have brown and black if you prefer, but yes, the red looks really good. But what about the rest of the cabin? Well, a few people have said that the interior isn't quite as nice as its German rivals, and that may well be the case, but it certainly doesn't feel like a bargain basement in here. All the switch gear is nice, all the knobs and dials work well. You've got a soft touch dashboard and the leather extends onto the dashboard as well. The inside, like the outside, is beautiful.
The Giulia comes in 6 trim levels: Giulia, Technica, Super, Speciale, Veloce and of course the Quadrifoglio. As mentioned, this is for Speciale model, which is towards the top of the range and is priced from £35,515. This model offers goodies such as 18-inch alloys, red brake calipers, double exhaust pipe, 8.8-inch infotainment system with navigation, 6-way electronically adjustable driver's seat, heated front seats, heated steering wheel and rear parking sensors, to name a few. It's also worth mentioning that the model tested here has got a few optional extras, such as the alloys, the sunroof, the Alpha white paint and the performance pack, which offers aluminium paddle shifters, adaptive dampers and a limited slip diff. Therefore, the model tested is priced at £41,185. Now, don't think that the base model will offer about the same amount of kit as a prison cell, because it's able to offer 16-inch alloys, 6.5-inch infotainment system, rear parking sensors, lane departure warning, leather steering wheel, cruise control, climate control and autonomous emergency braking, to name a few. The base model starts from £29,875, but for more detailed information about the Giulia lineup, click the link in the video description below for the written review.
This is an area where the Giulia does well. As I mentioned earlier, these sport seats are lovely, they're very comfortable, they support you and they're sat low into the cabin, which gives the car a sportier nature. Getting a good driving position is very easy because the steering wheel adjusts for rake and reach, like so. There we go. And the seat also has a good level of adjustment. But what about cubby holes? Well, you've got 2 cup holders down here. You've also got this cubby hole here, which you can store a few small items in. It's not massive, but it should be enough. The door bins aren't very big though, and the glove box isn't quite that big either. But either way, storage areas aren't too bad. But what's space like in the back? Space in the back of the Giulia is pretty good as well. So as always, the driver's seat has been altered for myself. I'm 6'2", so needless to say, I'm a tall chap, but the legroom is definitely agreeable. It's quite ample, and what I like is that the back of the seats is sculpted inwards to help give you more knee room, but I'm afraid their headroom isn't brilliant, and I believe that's to do with this optional sunroof. So my head is rubbing on the roof lining, which is a bit disappointing. So if you're going to have taller passengers in the back, it might be worth not having the sunroof. In the middle, you're going to struggle to get comfortable because you've got this transmission tunnel with it being rear wheel drive. So in the middle, it's not going to be fantastic. So realistically, you're going to want to seat 2 people in the back rather than 3. But what's the boot like?
Open up the boot and you'll find 480 litres at your disposal, which is exactly the same as its German rivals, but more than the Jaguar XE. Lower spec models come with a 60-40 rear seat layout, whereas the Speciale offers 40-20-40, which is handy if you need to load long items such as skis. However, the lower models can have 40-20-40 seats, but you'll need to pay £275 for them. Okay, so this may not be for quadrifoglio, but that's not to say that this model is a slouch. Underneath the bonnet you have a 2.2 litre turbocharged diesel, which offers 178 brake horsepower with 450 Nm of torque, or 331 if you prefer that in pound-feet. It's mated to an 8-speed automatic gearbox. I'm afraid there's no choice for a manual in the UK, and power is fed to the rear wheels. But how fast is it? Well, it will reach 62 miles per hour in a very respectable 7.1 seconds and continue to a top speed of 143 miles per hour. Not too shabby.
There are other engines available, of course, but in this particular model you can only have the 2.2 litre diesel. Now you can get the 2.2 litre diesel in a different power output if you were to choose a different model, and that offers 148 brake horsepower. Or if you prefer petrol, there's a choice of 2 litre petrols you can have. One that offers 197 brake horsepower, or one that offers 276 brake horsepower. And don't forget, you've also got the 2.9 litre V6 of a quadrifoglio that offers a very healthy 503 brake horsepower. So as mentioned, there's no option for a manual gearbox in any of the models, which I do find rather disappointing. But for 8-speed auto, it works pretty well. Is it the slickest in the business? No, it's not, but left to its own devices, it will work quite effortlessly, although it can be a bit slow to pick up. But there we are, it's picking up now. But the changes are nice and smooth, they're pretty seamless. But you can of course take control with the paddle shifters on the steering wheel. Now this particular model has got the performance pack, which means that you get these lovely long aluminium paddle shifters. And to change, yeah, that's pretty swift. Although I think some people would like to have the choice of a manual, but this 8-speed auto is pretty good. But there is a bit of a problem for me. Now, for paddle shifters, they are connected to the steering column as opposed to the steering wheel. So when you turn it and you want to change up or change down, it can be a bit of a faff and you find your arms getting tangled, but that's a small fly in a very big ointment if you ask me.
I've also got some small complaints about the steering as well. Yes, it provides a very nice weight, but the steering rack is a bit too fast, so it can be difficult to judge how much lock you need when you're going into a corner. Plus, it doesn't offer as much feedback as you may have been expecting, which is disappointing for a car such as this. But on the plus side, the chassis is well balanced and the car handles beautifully.
So like with other Alfas, you have the DNA system, which offers 3 different driving modes. So you've got A, which stands for advanced efficiency, so that gives you better grip in low grip conditions, and it also gives you a better fuel economy as well. That's a bit boring. You've then got natural, which is essentially for cars normal mode, but you've also got dynamic as well, which makes everything sharper. The throttle response is quicker, the brakes are sharper, the steering becomes faster as well. This model also has the adaptive dampers, so even though I've got it in dynamic mode and it's quite taut, it's quite firm, but the ride isn't too bad. But if you do find it a bit too jiggly, there's a button down here and you can activate for soft dampers, and it all becomes a little bit more mellow in here, which is quite nice because it means you can have softer suspension, but at the same time you can still drive about like an absolute lunatic. Let's pop it back into its sportier setup, and even with the firm suspension, the ride is very compliant. It soaks up the bumps really nicely. I'll tell you what I like about it is that although it's nice and cushioned, you can still feel an undertone of firmness. You can still feel that sporty edge, but it's still comfortable. And I think the way how Alfa has engineered this chassis is absolutely brilliant. Not only is the Giulia comfortable, but it's refined too, although it kind of has to be be competitive in this segment. Even though this car's got 18-inch alloys which are wrapped in run flat tyres, there's barely any tyre noise, and wind noise, you can barely hear it at all. And what I love about the Giulia is that you just feel cocooned in here. You feel like you're in your own little world, just eating up for miles. Very pleasant indeed. Now the diesel engine can sound a little bit coarse some of the time, especially when you start the car up, but once you're cruising, you can barely hear it and it works way effortlessly in the background. Although if you want a sweeter engine, then I would definitely recommend one of the petrols. Now I'm afraid this is an area where the Giulia doesn't do very well. So with this engine, on a combined ride, I'm meant to be getting 67.3 miles to the gallon, which sounds jolly frugal, but in my experience, I've been getting mid-40s, which isn't particularly fantastic. In regards to CO2 emissions, this engine emits 109 grams per kilometre, and don't think by getting the less powerful diesel you can improve that, because the less powerful diesel has exactly the same economy figures. But if you're really after a petrol engine, then you can look at the less powerful 2 litre petrol engine, as that offers 47.1 miles to the gallon. But in all honesty, even the more powerful petrol engine isn't much different, as that offers 46.3 miles to the gallon, so there really is much in it. In regards to the Quadrifoglio, well, we all know it's not going to be terrifically frugal, so let's gloss over that one, shall we? Now in regards to BIK, this offers 23%, which is a little bit less than its rivals when spec'd in a similar which is a little bit less than its rivals when spec'd with a similar engine and a similar trim level, but it's worth mentioning that its rivals are able to offer hybrid systems. There was once a time when you bought an Alfa Romeo Saloon with your heart knowing that it would be flawed in some way, but with the new Giulia, I feel it will be an easier purchase to make. Sure, the Germans might be able to offer you a slightly nicer interior and perhaps even a more complete car, but the Giulia, it feels special when you drive it. It has character. It feels like more of an occasion. Plus it offers a cracking drive, a good amount of space, and it's comfortable. So the Giulia is more than just a pretty face. Thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a big thumbs up and please subscribe for more car obsession.